Ethics and technical challenges. In civilized life, law floats in a sea of ethics. This section discusses the technical challenges associated with artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and ethics. Some of the ethics questions to consider in association with this section are the following. What are the potential security vulnerabilities in IoT devices, and how can they be addressed? What are the privacy challenges of AI, and how can they be addressed? What are the risks associated with AI processing of personal data, and how can they be mitigated? How can stakeholders ensure responsibility, transparency, and trust in the use of IoT devices and applications? What are the ethical considerations surrounding the ownership of personal data? How can informed consent be obtained to ensure ethical data collection and use? What are the potential malicious uses of IoT devices and applications, and how can they be prevented? How can organizations ensure that their actions align with moral principles and do not compromise user privacy and security? 1. Data collection and use. The Internet of Things presents several technical challenges associated with ethics, privacy, and security. One of the challenges is the collection and use of personal data by IoT devices and applications. Consumers may not be aware that their data is being collected and used by data harvesters. Artificial intelligence itself is also a user and potential abuser of data. Critics warn that there is a high risk to individuals' rights and freedoms in the AI processing of personal data. Some of the privacy challenges of AI include data persistence, data existing longer than the human subjects that created it, driven by low data storage costs. Data repurposing, data being used beyond the originally imagined purpose. Data spillovers, data collected on people who are not the target of data collection. 2. Case in point. The Chinese company ByteDance is facing a lawsuit over claims that its CapCut video editing application collects data from its more than 200 million active users without consent. The lawsuit, filed in Illinois, claims that CapCut violates the state's Biometric Information Privacy Act by collecting data like face scans and voice prints without informing users or getting express permission. The app also allegedly collects details about a user's location, date of birth, and gender, as well as their photos and videos. 3. Unwitting release of PII. Consumers often unknowingly relinquish personal information to connect with IoT devices, including their home residency occupancy, home appliance usage, home safety, medical equipment usage in the home, personal routines, vehicle privacy, voice privacy, and geolocation privacy. 4. Informed consent. Informed consent is essential to ensure that users are aware of the data being collected and how it will be used. Without informed consent, stakeholders can become unwitting victims when data is misappropriated. 5. Malicious use. Malicious use of IoT devices and applications is also a concern, and responsibility, transparency, and trust are critical to addressing these issues. One example of a malicious use involves service exploitations. Service exploitations may allow for malware services such as viruses, spyware, ransomware, and Trojans. 6. Security. Security is another significant challenge associated with IoT ethics. IoT devices are often vulnerable to cyber attacks, and users may not be aware of the risks. User awareness of attack risks is essential to address these challenges. Organizations that produce and use these devices should consider the moral principles of their actions and the effects they have on user privacy and security. Where devices are manufactured under the control and supervision of foreign adversaries, end users could be unwittingly subject to surveillance or loss of PII through malicious software. 7. Case in point. A law in California requires manufacturers of IoT devices sold in California to implement reasonable security features that protect the software, data, and information contained within them. while the law regulates the minimum security standards for IoT devices. Its definition of a connected device may impact product liability claims because connected devices are physical objects and not technology. The law suggests that manufacturers of the software in IoT devices may not be held strictly liable for software defects. Because the law aligns with the view of most courts that software is not a product, but a service. 8. Summary. The technical challenges associated with AI and IoT ethics are numerous and complex. One of the challenges is the collection and use of personal data by IoT devices and applications, which can be done without the user's knowledge or consent. AI itself can also be a potential abuser of data, with risks to individuals' rights and freedoms. Other challenges include inequality and discrimination, informed consent, malicious use, security, and legal issues. Organizations that produce and use these devices should consider the moral principles of their actions and the effects they have on user privacy and security. It is essential to address these challenges by cultivating ethics in the culture of the organization, ensuring transparency, responsibility, and trust, and developing a formalized and grounded approach to technology ethics.